On your marks. Get set.
What the opposition is. Security and just know what our position is. More than conquerors, so say no longer rulers. No more flight, but we fight faithfully for the future. We win.
Welcome back to Bench Perspective. Our perspective, your perspective. This is Bench Perspective. It's March still, and that means March Madness is still going on. And I brought two collegiate athletes with me, Dwayne Tolbert and Ashley Parks, to discuss if it's madness to pay NCAA players. Let's get Ashley's perspective.
That was a nice use of madness there. I'll just start off by saying yes, I do think that college athletes should be paid because they're just like an employee to a job. So that value that they have to the institution should be rewarded. I think that they go out and they put their bodies up against rigorous schedules, training, and the same thing that will go for an employee on a job, it should go for them as well. I also think that they should be insured because, like I said, they're putting their bodies on the line. And after you leave that field, after you leave that court, you know, you've put your body up under that type of pressure. You still have a life to live. And a lot of these guys, who, especially on the football team, they leave that field and they're just banged up, which makes it harder for you to actually get a job that will pay you. So, yeah, I think that these guys should, girls, women, whatever sport it is, I think that with the amount of money that the NCAA makes off of these athletes, they should get a percentage of their earnings.
Wow. To your point, people will say that college athletes, in a way, do get paid. They are compensated, not necessarily paid money, but they're compensated in education and in other ways. What do you say to that?
I mean, I say to that, okay, I'm an educator. I say it like this. Most educators, if they move to a particular district, or there is a need or a higher need for a particular subject teacher, they can get a bonus. Mm-hmm. Let's think of it like that. There are some jobs that have sign-on bonuses. I think of college tuition being paid as a bonus. Mm-hmm. I don't think that covers the cost of living. I don't think that puts food in your mouth on a day-to-day basis. I don't think that secures your stability throughout the year, other than me sitting in this class and pretending like I'm actually here to get an education, because that's not, across the board, that's not the case.
Okay. I'm not a college athlete. I've never played. I've never had a scholarship. So I'm under the impression that you all are receiving room and board, which means, you know, a lot of the costs of living are paid for, and you're receiving food. So those are, you know, a lot of the expenses that regular people are going to incur.
Well, when I say cost of living, I'm going to put it to you like this. If you give me room and board, but I don't have money for toilet tissue. Mm-hmm. I don't have money for sheets on my bed. Wow. Mm-hmm. I don't have money for food in my room. Mm-hmm. Most cafeterias, the last dining hour is between 4 and 6 o'clock. Okay. I don't get out of practice until 6:30, 7:30. So then what? Mm-hmm. You know, how am I supposed to fend for myself after hours when I'm out of practice and I'm still hungry?
Gotcha. Would you like to chime in, Dwayne? Like, is what she's saying your experience as well?
Yes, 100%. Miss Ashley is saying some stuff that I can definitely, beckon and attest to myself. You know, knowing that I played football, you know, there was several days that, you know, after workouts or after football games, you know, you kind of left to fend for yourself after a meal.
Mm-hmm.
Even after a Saturday, after a game, they give you 2 hamburgers, and that's kind of the end of the school's part.
Wow.
And again, and you get a Gatorade as well. but
So
other
you're
than
not gonna be thirsty.
yeah, you're not gonna be thirsty. But other than that, you're left to fend for yourself. So I do think the NCAA has been and will continue to short student athletes until someone appropriately, puts them in their position, their proper position.
So what is the value? What do you think the value of an education is? Like, that's not compensation enough? Like, you said something, like people across the board aren't there for an education. And could you expound on that?
Okay, so with football, to my understanding, you have to play at least 2 years in college.
Mm-hmm.
Is it 2 or 3? I think it's 2 or 3 years in college, and before you can actually enter the draft.
Yeah.
Okay, basketball you can do a one and done.
Yeah.
Either way, this is really the only gateway that I have to a professional league.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Out of high school.
Yeah.
So if I know that this is basically my gateway,
Mm-hmm.
then I'm going regardless if I have the intentions of finishing school or not.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So
Okay.
it's like a lot of students, you can see that with basketball especially. My husband and I talk about this all the time, that, there isn't you can't form a fan base
Mm-hmm.
with someone who's leaving in a year.
That is true.
So
That is
every
true.
year you have, look at it with the beginning of March Madness. At the end of these big games,
Mhm.
these upsets, these guys are saying like, hey, I'm going ahead and I'm declaring. How? This is the first night. Your mind was already on this.
Yeah,
Like
for sure.
literally, the game
Definitely.
wasn't even over. They're in the locker room. And he's like, I'm
Proclaiming for the draft.
I'm
Did the
entering
best
the
I can
draft.
do.
Right after the loss.
Right, so you know that was not his intention
Yeah.
to be there for the long haul. We were surprised to even see seniors for March Madness.
Yeah.
That's very rare
That's
in
rare.
basketball.
That is absolutely rare.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I'm absolutely for players getting paid, but I've listened to the other side as well, and I know that both of you are for players getting paid. So I'm going to try my best to play the other side. I am going to try my best. Believe me, I'm on y'all side, but I'm going to try my best to play the other side. What I want to know is, what do you all think about colleges kind of lowering the standard for some of the athletes to get them into the school? Well, their reading levels might be low, or they might be low across the board, but hey, we want this player in because he's a super athlete. Do you all know anybody that fits this bill? Could you all tell me about him?
Well, I guess I would like to start off by saying what you're speaking on is something of past years.
Okay.
You hear more about that in past years.
Okay.
But moving forward, education is starting to become something that is just echoed across the board on all schools.
Mm-hmm.
If your grades are not together, no schools are not touching you. No matter if it's Alabama, Auburn, no matter if you're a blue chip or you're the number 1 rated position player
Really?
in the country nowadays.
Okay.
And that's something I know to be true. I have a brother-in-law that's a high school coach, and so I'm hearing this from boots level.
Okay.
That that's how the system is working now. And I
Okay.
think because a lot of coaches have they have certain bonuses attached to the graduation record.
That's awesome.
And of course when you start affecting people's money, things do start to change.
Well, I've done my research and I was looking at videos that were saying that, well, if they go to college and if they can't really handle the load of college, that colleges will give them paper classes and classes that, they can go to, do minimal work and still get a degree, but not really receiving an education. Do you know anything about that? I'm just trying to get the skinny. I don't have the experience. I just got to do.
Only thing that I can talk to about honestly is that I do know as far as some universities there is when you start to get your base classes, or there is more of a trail. Certain courses, certain some teachers that that athletes seem to kind of follow that trail.
Okay.
That kind of lean more on the side of the student athlete.
Yeah.
They may not give you as far as anything unethical, but as far as like if you have practice, they may help you give you days that you can make up exams and stuff like that.
Yeah. I've heard people say that if NCAA players or college players are paid, that it would affect the purity of the game. A lot of people feel that people are more entitled today than ever before, and if you're paying these players a certain amount of money, that they'll start acting like the Manziels and other people who let it go to their head. What do you all say to the protecting or preserving that purity of just playing for the love of the game, or something like that?
I don't think the money would change that at all. I think the only thing that people starting to gravitate towards some of these attitudes are social media.
Mm-hmm.
Now more than ever, people have a voice.
Yeah.
And if you're at Auburn or Alabama or a big name school,
yeah.
And you have a Twitter voice, you might have thousands of followers.
Yeah.
So you could just say one simple thing and it becomes sacred.
Yeah.
So I think social media is kind of giving it more of a buzz than the player, his or herself. I think everyone still has a humble thirst or hunger for the game, no matter what they play.
Okay. You agree?
Yeah, I totally agree with him, and I want to also say that I don't think that it would taint it. Simply because there still is going to have to be a drive. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because do I want to be this type of paid player? Or depending on how they regulate it, or do I want to be considered as the best? Or whatever the case may be. You have to think about it. Like, these guys are coming from high school to college.
Yeah.
That's a big playing field.
Huge.
To me, some of these guys are in the NFL when it comes to, their popularity.
Mm-hmm.
Like he said, with social media.
Yeah.
It's no different than going to the NFL. It's just what I'm getting paid now.
Yeah.
But I was already a superstar.
Mm-hmm.
The good thing about televised sports
Yeah.
is that everyone can see you, just like they can see every NFL player.
Yeah.
And if you're a favorite, then that already makes you basically, famous.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have
For
to,
sure, yeah.
and they don't know this person can be famous and broke when he gets back to his dorm room. That's the only difference. Exactly. So the only difference.
Don't forget about that Gatorade.
That hamburger and Gatorade. But the only difference I think that it will make is that they will actually have the money to go with the popularity. But I don't think that it would taint it at all,
Okay, let's say that you take away the money from, the players. You don't give them money.
Okay.
Now, I've heard that LeVar Ball, you all have heard that LeVar Ball was considering starting a development league. And the G League, the NBA has a G League where you could develop players who don't want to go to college. Would you all be, for just separating those two? You have the college athletes who want to go to college, and then you have the players who, hey, I just want to go to the NBA and I want a platform to showcase my talent. Would you all be for the separation of those two, or is it a must that, if you're going to play, you have to get paid?
Well, my thing is, are we talking about all sports, or because in my opinion, I think football is the only sport that I don't think it's no way that you can not go through college first.
Okay.
Because you have to put on your adult body. When you come in as 18, you have to, because NFL, those are grown men.
Yeah.
Every other sport, baseball,
You
soccer.
don't think that there could be a development league for football to where, they put on their grown-up body?
But it still would take so many years.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but I don't. I think that product would be really, really terrible, because even myself, even though I wasn't a great player, but me at 18 and 19 compared to when I was a senior or junior, it's night and day different.
Okay.
So if those guys come out, even if they're the top tier, they're still going to be 18 or 19, and that product is not going to look good compared to someone want to watch Alabama, or a traditional football team. Other sports, I think you can do it. I definitely think you can do so.
Yeah, and I want to piggyback off something before I
Okay,
answer your
okay.
question. And this is the reason why these players should be insured, because if there was a developmental league, and say for instance, this particular player wanted to go to this developmental league,
Yeah.
and he gets hurt, you know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
You know, and all he's trying to do is just develop himself.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is, just to answer your question, when it comes to the G League, basically separating the two, I personally think that it's kind of hard, because I actually teach, so it's hard for me to go away from what I believe, which is education. Student is first.
Okay.
Period. I tell all my athletes this. I tell them, you know, you're a student first. You can't go anywhere without having the grades, because there's always gonna be another player that's just as good as you or better, with better grades. So who are they gonna want to deal with? You know.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But anyway, going back to your question, the only thing I think the problem comes in is that it would discourage a lot of children from wanting to get an education. But here's the issue with that. It's already being discouraged.
Yeah.
Nothing is appealing about education.
Oh, wow.
If I know that all I have to do is go to school for 1 year to play basketball, my mind is no longer on education.
No, not at all.
So if I'm a poor little guy, or, you know, and the reason why I keep saying guys is because WNBA players, some of them still have jobs. So, you know, that's not as attractive. So let's just go with NBA. Let's go with NFL. You know, if I know that all I have to do is go for 1 year into the league, to get into the league, I'm not at all trying to get an education.
No, you're not.
You know, so, you know, them separating the two is like, basically, you know, what's the difference? And me being sincere and saying like, hey, look, I don't want an education. Gabby, you're not getting those cookies. You're not getting those cookies. I know, I told you. All you had to do was just wait. Here. Sorry. You don't have to take
That's fine.
Okay, I'm gonna try to remember
That's all love.
my point. Okay, yeah. Okay. You know, there's no difference between you being sincere and saying, you know, hey, you know, I'm going to this school, you know, and you know, I'm going to I'm going to this school so I can play, or, you know, or get this college education, when you know deep down in your heart you're not there to get an education, versus you saying like, hey, I have no intentions on going to get this education. Why would I take up another student's scholarship who's really interested in going to school? This could be put towards someone else's education. Let me just go and develop myself. You know, so I think that that's the only difference between separating the two. It's just the sincerity of it, because it's already out there.
So you do think that it should possibly be separated? Because
I think that the idea is perfect, just because you got to think about how much money are you wasting on these kids just going that 1 year and just going through, when it can be given to someone else. And I'm being honest and saying, I don't want an education. You know, it's not like it's disappointing or surprising. You know, they're not going to school for 4 years.
Exactly.
So let's stop playing around and let's be honest and say, look, hey, I don't want this education. I'm going here, I'm going to develop, and I'm going to go to the league after this.
With the spirit of education, this is me coming out off of that, you know, hey, I'm on this side of, you know, the spectrum. I'm not going to play the devil's advocate right now. You know, in the spirit of competition, you always want to win.
Yeah.
And if you want to win, even if they separated it, I could see them still paying players to come to my team, because I want the best. I want to win. When we win, more people come, you know, we get these different deals, and, you know, it generates more money. So you always want the best product possible. And, you know, hey, if I got to spend some illegally, I'm going to do it. And how do I know that people are doing it? Because, you know, a couple of months ago, people were caught doing it. There was an FBI investigation. You know, all that stuff came out, and so it's happening. It is happening. It's going on. It's just time to take the veil off of it, and it's time for us to admit this is going on. This is taking place. It needs to happen legally.
Right.
How we go about doing this is the question. That is the only question in my mind.
Right.
How we go about doing it.
Yeah. I mean, and this is the upsetting part, is that there's no question as to how do we go about doing it, paying these coaches as much as we're paying them.
Oh,
there's no question about how do we go about doing it when he talks about the salaries that, you know, members of the NCAA are making, not to mention we're talking about jersey sales. That is not your name. It does not have the NCAA on the back of it.
That
has a child's name on the back of it that is sitting in his dorm room or in her dorm room, hungry, who can't get to point A to point B because they don't have gas in their car.
Yeah.
I mean, I could give you a number of scenarios. Yet they are making money off of that name and off of that number. So to me, you know, they're not confused as to how to do it. They know how to do it.
Okay.
They know exactly how to do it. They have more than enough money. And I want to say this. And
she pointing the finger.
All right.
She like,
I'm about to get sassy. But the thing is that, you know, these kids, you know, it's tough for you to see the amount of money that these people are making off of these kids, and they are being, you know, penalized and ostracized. And you know, I can remember a situation years ago when I was in high school. It was an Auburn player, and something happened. I can't even remember his name. Really good guy. I won't just be too specific about the situation.
Okay.
But it was a personal situation that someone helped him with, and you basically never heard about him again. I feel like if they do find out a way to pay these guys or whatever, they need to be retroactive.
Okay.
They need to go back, pay these guys that they stopped from entering the NBA. They blackball out of the NBA, out of the NFL. You know, these guys who got hurt. And you made a certain amount of money off of their jersey sales.
I like that.
And you need to go back and pay them. They make that much money that they could do that and not even sweat, not even lose anything from doing it.
I'm over here chuckling because I'm like, they're not even willing to pay the current players, and you're like, we need to act retroactively and go back.
Because the money is in the bank.
Exactly.
It's accruing interest every day.
Exactly. You know these coaches, how much money that they're making. Like, he's not even on the field getting banged up. Let's take some of his money or some of their money, you know.
And it's funny that you say that because you hear a lot of times that, you know, it's just a game. It's just, you know, it's a hobby. You're playing football, you're playing basketball, but you have these coaches getting paid millions and everybody's okay with that.
Yeah.
It's like you're okay with certain people getting the money, but the people who are, you know, on the field working and generating that you actually come to see play aren't getting paid anything. And a lot of people, you know, the naysayers are for that. So that's insane to me.
And my thing is just I think we need to devalue the balance of everyone thinking that the education is worth the you know the player. Like to me, you know, NCAA is a business. Yeah. So you know, a scholarship to them is just like have you know equity. Equity is like a mathematical number that you can't touch. But it so that's what a scholarship is. It's just a number that I'm pretty sure is written off or back in somehow. You know, because no matter if that young man or young lady is in that professor's class or not, you know, that's it's just equity. It's just a number, but it doesn't have a lot of value to it. But those hours, those 8 or 12 hours that young man or that young lady spends on that field or in the study hall or wherever they're at, you know, in the classroom, you know, that has a dollar amount to it because you're not gonna be at Walmart or McDonald's for 8, 10 hours or any job and not receive some type of paycheck.
Absolutely. Well, I tried my best to play devil's advocate for as long as I possibly could. You obviously see that we're all for players getting paid. But before we go, I want you all to recognize the shirt that Ashley has on. And in addition, I want to give Dwayne a time to plug State Farm. Let's go, Dwayne Tolbert.
Well, I guess first, hello. You can find me at www.dwayneTolbert.com. That's kind of the first thing. And it's really no plug. I mean, just please support me. I care about what I do. I support the community, so please let the community support me.
And he gives out really nice calendars.
In all different sizes.
Well, that's our perspective. We want your perspective.
Try to mention my sin and beat it.
Bench
Only point the
perspective.
finger at me like, ooh, I know who did it. Cause ooh, I know he did it. Accomplish my redemption so that I could be conformed to his image. So I'm twinning and I'm winning.
We can care less what the opposition is. Security and just know